handoff, Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose! He splits the defense! 50, 40, 30, goodbye, baby! Touchdown!
We bleed purple, and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome, behold. We are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores, we roar, ignite the stands.
Hello there, Minnesota Vikings faithful. You are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West, and I am accompanied by Adam Carlson.
Heyo.
Kyle Smith.
What's going on, everybody?
Ready to talk about Vikings football, as always.
We sure are. I love football.
Me too.
You love football? You wouldn't have even clicked on this podcast if you didn't like football, I don't think, unless you're just completely mistaken. Then stick around anyway. Who knows? You might find us funny or informative. I don't know.
That's right. We give you free internet hugs here.
That's right. I'd like to welcome everyone to episode number 130 of the Purple People podcast. This one is entitled Blair Force One.
Ouch.
Oh.
Ouch.
That was great.
Yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about Mr. Blair Walsh in a little bit, but first let's get some quick hits out of the way. Well, the Vikings got eliminated from playoff contention on Thursday when the Rams failed to defeat the Arizona Cardinals. It was a situation where Minnesota didn't control their own destiny anyway, and it was a complete long shot, but as long as there was hope, I was still hoping, but now that it's over, I still want to see the boys in purple get wins, so... I mean, it's not playoffs this year, but it's still Vikings football.
A very good friend of mine. Actually, I'll do a plug. We'll start off the show, not even 2 minutes in with a plug. There's an alternative, hardcore, metal, rock, whatever you... There's like 80,000 genres now, but if you guys have never heard of Burn Halo, go check them out. My good friend, Mr. James Hart, Chicago Bears fan, still trying to get him to come to the right side of football. But, he told me, hey, man, you guys are just winning all these pointless games, but I'm right there with you, Adam. If we're not going to go out and play, then we should just not show up at all. So I totally disagree with that. Even though we're not out, we made it all the way to week 15 with a chance, which is better than last year. So
that's true. A lot of fans were hoping for a loss, and I don't play that way. I never want to see the Vikings lose, especially when you've got young players that are developing, and you've got players getting opportunities that they wouldn't have had otherwise due to injuries. Like Gerald Hodges. He's been stepping up. He's actually been playing some decent football.
Well, unlike last year and maybe a couple seasons before, where you were playing with guys who were not going to be on the team, there was no point, no future with them. You're building chemistry with Teddy Bridgewater and a lot of the younger guys who are going to be on this team and are going to be a part of like the coaching staff moving forward. So it is important to be out there and to win games at this point.
Absolutely, without a doubt. It's like Mike Zimmer says, it's building that winning tradition in Minnesota.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. He will never lose a game on purpose from the way it sounds. He'll never even think about it. He doesn't care where the team drafts. He wants Mike Zimmer guys, and he can get Mike Zimmer guys anywhere in the draft. There's lots of them. But he'll find his guys, and he'll bring them in.
I love the attitude. It's the atmosphere. You could be set around with what they call the B squad, but if you have an A+ coach, you can compete with anyone. And I think that's a prime example. I'm not saying we have B squad guys, but anything that could happen that's bad did happen to us this year. If we would have had an inflatable roof, it would have collapsed already. Yes. I didn't want everybody to think I thought the whole Vikings team was B squad. We've got some outstanding players, but like I was saying, a couple of years ago, the dome collapsed. If we had a dome, it probably would have by this time this year, just for all the injuries and the Adrian stuff and next man up and yada, yada, yada. But just keep fighting. I mean, you can either lay down or keep pushing. So I love Mike Zimmer. The attitude that he has makes me want to watch every Sunday.
As a Vikings fan, you never get bored. It's always something.
Always.
The stadium collapsing, the Mike Prefer thing, Adrian Peterson, the Favre debacle of him coming, going to get him, flying down there. The whole thing. Like, being a Vikings fan has to be just nerve-wracking. I don't know how we do it compared to other teams. Other teams seem boring now.
I love it. We always got, I don't love all some of the stupid stuff that happens, but we've always got something interesting to talk about.
It's true.
Oh, never a dull moment.
Well, Michael Mauti was placed on season-ending injured reserve. They had brought up offensive tackle Carter Bykowski to the active roster. Who knows? We might even see him get some action.
Bit of a technical problem here, but we are back, and we're going to pick up with Adrian Peterson, right, guys?
Yeah, we got some Adrian Peterson news. His appeal by the NFLPA was denied. He even had some recorded conversations between him and some dude. I have no idea who the dude is, but I had notes on this, but when my computer crashed, I lost all of them,
So yeah, Adrian talked to a guy, and supposedly from what I read, he was told that he was expecting a 2-game suspension, and tried to use that conversation as leverage for him. I don't know if I want to use the phrase getting out of it, but basically that's what he was trying to do, was to use that to get out of it. Didn't work in his favor. Obviously, he is still suspended, and will be for the remainder of the season.
I think it's weird, though, because really the suspension doesn't matter. They could take him off the suspension right now, and he's still on the exempt commissioner's permission list, and he can't play.
I was going to say that, and
changed.
the other thing to think about this too is this could roll in. We're going to have the whole off season to talk about this. We're going to be talking about this for another 8 months or so. But if this runs, yeah, I know. I don't want to either. I mean, come play for us, or if you don't, we loved you. Goodbye. Like it's one or the other. But I hope you stay. But they were also talking about, maybe this will only affect this season too. If this runs into next year, this circus that we've been going in, it's going to be more than a year long running. And I'm so ready to seal this envelope and mail it away. You have no idea.
Everything in the NFL that affects even one part of a season will affect everything from there on out. I mean, if the Vikings end up this season winning only 6 games, and if they'd have won 9 games with Adrian Peterson, that's a draft spot. That's a potential player that they're missing out on. You know, it's little things like that. It's the butterfly effect. It really is.
Man, I love Adrian. I want him back on this team, but you can probably tell the 3 of us are just burnt to death.
Yeah, I love the football player Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, but man, I just want this over with, and I still feel like what we were talking about, there's not really any conclusion to this yet, because he's still on the commissioner's exempt list. So what does it mean? I really just want to know, is he going to be back or is he not going to be back? So that we can talk about what the Vikings are going to do moving forward, with or without Adrian in the picture. Well,
Adrian himself's even talking about quitting football.
Playing in the Olympics, retiring.
Going for the Olympics, going into real estate a little bit more.
Which, I don't know. Do you blame him?
I love him. I love him to death, but I think that's a little Brett Favre and a little bit of just drama from him, because the guy is born to play football.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you have hundreds of millions of dollars over the years, but I can't fathom to breathe to see, because you guys can all look it up on YouTube. Go watch his video after he tore his ACL coming into that next season. This guy knows one thing, and he knows football, because he's the best at it as a position. I think in the heat of the moment he said that, because Adam was right. He said, I've considered retirement. No, AP is a genetic freak. We've all seen that. And if anything, if there's anything to think about for this season that's a positive for him, maybe not even for us, he doesn't have a wear and tear on his body this entire season. One game didn't affect him. So if anything, he had a year to, kind of hold off from adding more miles to him. But I didn't buy that for 1 second when I heard, I've considered retirement. You're going to have teams coming to your door begging you to play for them, because
he's got to try to make it sound like he's ready to move on, He doesn't want to make it sound like he's pathetic sitting at home, crying by the phone. Nobody wants that, Adrian Peterson.
No, absolutely. And the thing is, I get it, because he's going to be 30 when the next season rolls around, and you've got teams with power backs like Green Bay, and then you've got the name marquee guys on other teams. But there's 32 teams. I'm willing to bet Adrian Peterson shows up to at least 26 of those teams, and he starts immediately. He knows that. I think we could all agree on that. That still leaves a wide range of teams out there to nah, I've got my back and I trust him. But
There will be a team out there that'll take a chance on his football talent despite his
Oh,
league problems.
Jesus, that would
absolutely.
It'll happen.
If the Michael Vick stuff can happen and he can get another team, there's absolutely no reason why AP won't have another team. But gosh, see how long we've talked about this?
We've already drifted off a little bit. Let's talk about the game between the Vikings and the Lions now. What do you think?
I think
Let's do it.
Well, Sunday, the Minnesota Vikings fell to the Detroit Lions 16-14 in Detroit. It was a game that was crushing, and we saw reasons to be excited and some reasons to be disappointed. But as always, let's start it out with our game ball and our donkeys.
I'll jump right in. This is Kyle Smith. My game ball, and if you guys take a look at the stat sheet, I mean, just to go off on a 2-second rant, we gave this game away in every way, shape, and form. We could have beat the division winner right now of our division and a playoff-bound team in their own house, and we should have won. But
yeah,
I'm giving my game ball this week to Mike Zimmer and the attitude that he brought, because he says, I'm not into moral victories, but we fought and took it on the chin, and we delivered it back to them, even though the scoreboard didn't show that at the final end of the game. We hung neck and neck with the Detroit team that is, in my opinion, they could do some damage in the playoffs. And it looks, as of right now, they're going to be the NFC North winner. And we still have 2 games of football left. But back to my game ball. Mike Zimmer, I can't tell you guys enough how much I love this choice of him being our coach, because he doesn't accept 99%. And you can tell from the development of Xavier Rhodes, the mentality of the defense, and the confidence he has with a forced rookie this year. So that's why I'm giving it to him. I'll get off my rant. But Mike Zimmer this week, even though we lost, I love the attitude that he has, and 4 full quarters of football that we will always play.
The work he's done with guys like Anthony Barr and Gerald Hodges, too, you can tell it's light years different from the coaching staffs of the Vikings past. This ain't no Mike Singletary defense anymore. But I know Kyle West doesn't have my game ball, so I'll go ahead and give mine away. Mine goes to Linval Joseph.
Ooh.
Linval Joseph played one heck of a game, clogging up the middle and making tackles and just making things difficult on the Detroit Lions. He's one of those guys that, well, he got shot in the leg early in the season, so
no big deal.
He had to overcome that a little bit. But ever since then, he came in on a big contract, and he has really started to earn all that money and more. Between him and Sharif Floyd, who's also been having a fantastic year when he's healthy, the Vikings have a very formidable defensive line that's built for the future. I'm really excited about it.
Well, I only had a chance to see the first half of the football game. I'm going to got the second half on my DVR. So you guys can correct me if I'm just completely wrong on giving away this game ball. But I'm looking at the stat sheet, and I'm seeing 7 receptions for 69 yards for Kyle Rudolph. And that's a guy who's been injured, and he's finally back into the swing of things a little bit. And I like that, because I like seeing the rapport building between Bridgewater and Rudolph, because Minnesota spent a heck of a lot of money for Kyle Rudolph. We need to see him healthy, and we need to see him producing on the field. For a tight end, that puts him overall in receiving for the game, the number 2 receiver in yardage for the Vikings. So I definitely like that. So I'm giving mine to Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, Kyle Rudolph caught every one of the passes that were thrown his way by Teddy Bridgewater, so that's a good pick. It really is.
I firmly believe that he can be a top tight end in the NFL if he can stay healthy.
Yes, the injury bug it's not been fair to him, but I was leaning towards him or Charles Johnson. They both have a lot of yards in this game, and it was nice to see him come back to form. Wish we would have had him the whole season, but better late than never, I guess.
For me, it's hard to pick an offensive player because of how bad the offense struggled at times.
Oh my
The defense was so consistent, limiting this powerful Detroit offense to field goals primarily. It really was a game. They only had 1 touchdown, Matt Stafford to Golden Tate. Otherwise, it was field goals. This Minnesota Vikings defense it's going to be scary next season. It really will. When everybody's healthy and ready to roll, I'm excited. I am. I'll give away my donkey too, since I don't think you guys will have my donkey. Because it's a guy I seem to pick. It's a place I seem to pick on pretty often. Only there's a different body there
I
this
bet you're
time.
going. Let me guess. I bet you're going to go offensive line.
I am.
Oh,
And it's not Matt Khalil, because Matt Khalil actually played a somewhat good game.
Against a really good defensive end, too.
Mhm.
It
Which
makes
is
no sense.
surprising.
It still goes to Vladimir Ducase. And I know Teddy Bridgewater says that this is as much Vladimir Ducase's team as it is mine.
I want a
No, it's
I
not.
want a T-shirt that says that. Vlad Dukas is my franchise.
He bought him lunch that entire week for that shout out in
Oh,
that press
I
conference.
bet.
He had to
I
have.
bet.
He struggled all game, gave so much pressure, and I understand how big and powerful Detroit's defensive line is. Anytime you're lined up against Sue for an entire game, you're going to get your butt kicked. But you could at least show a little bit more hard-nosed attitude than that, because he got pushed around, and I didn't see that kind of fight that you should see from a guard. I like Joe Berger, who I thought had the best game on the offensive line. Joe Berger fought hard against the powerful Detroit Lions defensive line. I didn't see that from Ducase, and that's probably why Berger took over for Ducase when Ducase was named the starter at right guard after Fusco went down. So I know that was a lot of talking about offensive line, but
I enjoy the offensive line talk.
I like it. I
You
like the offensive
never
line.
hear any other show, at least the ones that I listen to, talk about offensive line hardly, other than Khalil.
Well, it's
Well,
not the sexy
yeah.
pick and position, but that's
But it's
fine
your-
because you know what?
When you're a former
Yeah.
offensive lineman, it's all you see, man.
It's your,
I was waiting for it. That's your baby, man. You take it. You own
but
it.
you are right because it is your bread and butter. Like you have to protect your quarterback if you're going to be good. You have to.
I left the easy donkeys for you guys, so go ahead.
Oh, you guys, I can't wait to jump all over this. Let's see. It rhymes with Blair Walsh.
All right. Kyle Smith
What the
picking
hell,
Blair
man?
Walsh. It's an easy pick.
I it's so easy, and I didn't want to. I'm not picking this because he missed a 68-yard field goal. Let's live in reality here. I'm picking this because the rookie season that Blair Walsh had with us 2 years ago, I think he set a record for rookie for over 10 field goals made of over 50 yards.
Mhm.
He did.
53, I'm sorry, maybe I'm living in too high of expectation land, but 53 for Blair shouldn't be that difficult. I understand it's a little ways away, but this is becoming a trend this season, and I hope it's just a couple of game hiccups. I'm hoping he gets back to the form that we have seen him play at a high level, but block field goal, not fun. Miss a 68-yard, that's a little bit out of
Yeah, it's no
reality.
big
But
deal.
I mean, he was making 70 in warm-ups. Now I get that you're going to have to kick lower and longer, and guys can jump up. The big boys can jump and block field goals, as we saw. But Blair Walsh, you got to make field goals. We lost by 2 points. Had you made that, this would not be the conversation we'd be having right now. Or
See, I was wondering when Blair Walsh
maybe
was
it would,
struggling.
but
I was
we
trying to
lost
figure
by
out if it was some
2.
sort of like an
I'm
injury
just
issue.
saying.
And it never really did turn out to be an injury issue. Otherwise, they would have had him out there trying a 68-yard field goal to win the game.
I'm going to piggyback because, like I said, I didn't only see him one half of the game. I'm not comfortable giving away a donkey without seeing the full game just yet. So I'm just going to kind of piggyback on Blair Walsh. I still have all the faith in Blair in the world. I think he is an excellent kicker. Don't quite know what's going on right now. I would lean more towards maybe there's some kind of mechanics issue that's going on between your snapper, holder, and kicker as to the reasoning for that. Maybe a little bit of an injury. Just something that they need to work through as a unit to get it done. But like you said, if he would have made that field goal at the beginning of the game, Vikings win this one. So
If he'd have made any of the three.
it is a big thing when you can't make them like that. Although I'd
like to give an honorary donkey award,
Okay.
though. I'd like to give an honorary donkey award to Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, Adam.
You throw 2 interceptions that result in two scoring drives against Detroit. That's giving them 10 points on the board.
I
Now,
told you
other
guys
than
at
that,
the beginning of this show, we gave this game away. And I would not pick Teddy because if you just look, I'm sorry to interrupt you too, by the way.
that's
If
all
you
right.
just look on the paper, I'm looking at his stats right now on my Vikings app, which I highly suggest all of you download. 31 of 41, 315 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and an 84.9 passer rating. Doesn't sound terrible. It's actually respectable. But like Adam just said, we lost this game by 2 points in Detroit. If you guys can't tell, I'm a little irritated that we lost this game. And you're right. That's the biggest part. Turnovers, like last week's Hail Mary when we played the Jets in the end zone, it didn't
Yeah.
count for anything. I don't care. That just ruins your stat for the day. But they scored consecutively, and these picks were not far apart either in the game. All right, I'm done. Thanks, man. Go back.
One drive after the next. And the first thing Teddy Bridgewater said when he got up for the conference was, I messed up. I threw these 2 interceptions that resulted in 10 points. That's on me. And it's great to see that kind of accountability from a rookie.
Well, he's also been coached up extraordinarily well from, I don't know whose responsibility that lies to, whether it's Mike Zimmer or Rick Spielman or combination of the two, but someone has done a really good job with Teddy Bridgewater on making sure that he says the right things in his press conferences.
On the flip side, though, you kind of want to give a game ball to Teddy Bridgewater, too. He threw the ball 41 times in that game. It's his second game back-to-back throwing for over 300 yards. It's his third game in a row throwing for over 70% completion ratio. We really are seeing Teddy Bridgewater evolve. He's making some rookie mistakes, and that's what happened in this game. That's what those 2 interceptions were. He threw passes that he probably shouldn't have. He missed Jarius Wright on a crossing route at the end of the game that would have been easy yards to pick up out of bounds. But these are throws that he will get under control.
And here is my statement for everyone that I've seen on Facebook and Twitter that think it's amusing to call him Teddy Bustwater after such a short period of time, because I don't understand the hate. So I'm going to throw out a little stat here. I want to see if you guys pick up what this stat is from.
I know where you're going to go with this.
10 for 18 for 80 yards with a 27.3 overall quarterback rating and 2 interceptions. You guys know whose stat line that is?
I don't
It's
know.
one
but
of 2 guys. I'm not sure.
I hear money signs.
Yeah.
I think I hear money signs. I think I hear someone that got drafted 10 picks higher than Teddy Bridgewater.
I didn't know if it was going to be Manziel or I didn't know if it was going to be Aaron Rodgers, to be honest.
No, I'm talking about Johnny Manziel for everyone.
Oh, Adam Carlson with the burn of the month. Oh, thank you so much for that. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan this weekend too, by the way. But that was the best stat. I love you guys.
Because he was brutal.
That makes
He didn't get a lot of help from drop passes.
We hung in there with Buffalo to the last drive of the game, and they just completely annihilated them too. I'm gonna leave it unspoken because we don't talk about that here. But that's funny. God, that's great.
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater didn't get a lot of help though either from the running game. Matt Asiata averaged 3.3 yards per carry. Did get in the end zone, but it's pretty easy to get in the end zone when the ball's pretty much on the line.
That's what he does best. You get that ball on the 1 yard line, when Asiata, he's your guy. He is your guy at that point.
Ben Tate, 5 carries for 8 yards. Joe Banyard, 2 carries for 2 yards. Teddy Bridgewater was almost the leading rusher in this game.
Yeah, 3 for 30.
10-yard average. That's great.
It was that close. Meanwhile, Joey
give him-
Bell averaged 4 yards per carry, and so did Theo Riddick. But overall, Detroit's running game is usually more potent than this because of the threat of their pass. Teams aren't respecting the Minnesota Vikings pass game yet, and they should finally start doing that. Because right now they're playing up on the run against Asiata and Tate and Banyard and making things real hard for the running game. Not to mention the second-hand offensive line.
I'm gonna piggyback with you guys to Teddy to segue into the wide receiving group. I'm looking at all the receivers there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different receivers caught balls from him this weekend, and know those interceptions were just lethal, but spreading the ball around. I'm looking at Charles Johnson, who we didn't even think to utter his name 2 months ago, and he had a long catch for 40 yards. I mean, Kyle Rudolph is back and looking into form. Greg Jennings got a touchdown on the day. Cordero Patterson, it's the first time I've actually even heard your name, and my head perked up. But he did have a pretty decent return in the game, and he made 2 pretty good catches. One was really high at the very last drive of the game. But
toward the end of the game when Jarius Wright got hurt there, they plugged him in.
It was nice to see the ball spread around to so many people. I know
to have that many receivers have 3 catches and over 40 yards. I mean, that's 5 different players to do that.
I feel like that's one of Teddy's strong suits. You've seen a lot of game tape on him, Adam, but isn't he a guy typically coming out of college who, he likes to get his spread the ball around like that?
He usually does, but and I hate to rip on this because I've been constantly ripping on it all show. Usually he has more time behind the offensive line to take looks, go through progressions, find his receivers. He does not have that right now, but he's still getting the ball out quick, and he's completing it to whoever is open. He knows where his hot reads are, and he knows where to get the ball. So it looks like things are going pretty well from that aspect.
I've been really impressed with Teddy. I know you gave him your donkey for the week, but I'm just talking over.
I did not. Vladimir Ducasse was my donkey.
I thought he was your
honorary.
Honorary.
He's just honorary.
Honorable mention.
Okay.
Honorable mention.
But overall, his work, I am impressed with Teddy this season. I really am.
I mean, my game ball almost went to Jeff Locke for the punt average of over 50 yards and 1 inside the 20.
I don't know. I see a 43.5 here on NFL.com, Adam.
2 punts averaging 50.5 yards.
50.5, the long of 54. And I'm seeing that too.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Legitimately, it says 43.5 on NFL stat sheet box score.
Well, your stats suck.
No.
But yeah, Cordero Patterson had that 51-yard return that really came as soon as I started complaining about him on Twitter. So that's the way that goes. But the Minnesota Vikings offense clicked early, slowed down towards the end. They got in field goal position 3 times. One of them wasn't really field goal position because it ended up being like a 68-yarder. Should have been a 63, before a 5-yard penalty for delay a game. I believe it was delay a game, right? At the end.
I believe so. Yeah, it was a delay of game. I think was it a 3rd down or 4th down? It was 3rd or 4th down, and then we were out of timeout. So it was a rush. And seeing the last drive of that game, if all you had to see was, I mean, we did have a good first quarter going into the second, but if all you got to see was the last drive of the game, that's pretty much the whole second half for you. Frustration.
Yeah, it was a cluster mess. It really was. But we talked about Blair Walsh. We know that he was 0 for 3 on his kicks, made the 2 extra points. But otherwise, we got the defense. Now, the defense played a fantastic game, like I said. They held the Detroit Lions to the 1 touchdown, and that was off a Teddy Bridgewater interception that gave them a short field. We saw Xavier Rhodes leave the game for a little while with a wrist injury. He came back, and he played at a really high level, actually. We saw, amazingly, that the Detroit Lions only were able to get Calvin Johnson the ball 4 times for 53 yards. Now, here's an interesting statistic. Calvin Johnson was lined up on Xavier Rhodes on the outside, right, at the beginning of the game. Calvin Johnson averages being in the slot about 4.25 times per game because they move him around a little bit. You know how many times he was there against the Vikings on Sunday? 12. They wanted him in that middle so he could get away from Xavier Rhodes. This means that defenses are actually starting to recognize this kid's playmaking ability.
I wish, Kyle, if you do me a favor when you watch this, look for the stat that they showed in the second half about Xavier Rhodes.
Okay.
And I'm a terrible, terrible Vikings fan and not a professional on this show to know what the stat was. But for him, I don't know if it was completion. I want to say it's completions and percentages towards him, but he leads the NFL. For guys that target him right now, I know it was an NFL leading stat, and I want to say it was completions when the ball is thrown his way.
I
But
know
he is
he's
just,
second in the NFL as far as quarterbacks targeting the wide receiver he's covering. The only
that's what I
player
was
better
gonna
than
get
him
to.
is Richard Sherman.
In other words, he should be going to the Pro Bowl, but he won't because he doesn't have the name recognition.
Because he
That's
plays for the
Yeah.
Vikings.
That's exactly right, but that's fine. You know what?
Yeah.
I'll take him not going to the Pro Bowl with him playing the way he is right now if he continues that.
Mm-hmm.
Pro Bowl's a joke, anyways. Sorry, guys.
It is a
Oh,
joke. It's a
totally.
popularity
Yep.
contest. But let's talk about the lack of sacks.
I was
0 sacks.
I was
for the
going to
Minnesota
ask you
Vikings
guys
defense.
about that. Is that how is it that we played Detroit and Matthew Stafford usually gets killed at least 2 or 3 times a game? You see him like he looks like he got out of a car crash. How'd we not get to him once? No Everson, no Brian Robinson, nobody got to him. What happened?
The Detroit Lions offensive line was playing a fantastic game. You don't usually see players step up the way they did, but they were just controlling traffic so well. That and Matt Stafford was actually stepping through pockets and rolling out at times when necessary. He was keeping plays alive with his feet even. Matt Stafford had an amazing game, and that offensive line protected him really well.
I hate giving credit to the other team, but this is very true. Like Kyle said, I'm used to, especially over the years, watching Stafford just get planted. And, he's a big body, like, not as big, but a big body like Big
He is.
Ben. I mean, he can take a hit. We all know that. But it was weird not seeing him falling down and getting knocked around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about Gerald Hodges for a minute because he deserves this. 9 total tackles, 2 passes defended, filling in for an injured player. That's Anthony Barr that he filled in for. He had a really good game.
He was going to be my game ball, but the defense played outstanding, and I didn't want to single out one person. But what an amazing 2 weeks this guy's having.
Now, I know that Chad Greenway has already gone on record as saying he wants to stick around for one more year with the Vikings, then retire. And that's
Well-
okay. I'm all for that.
Now, if you've already got it planned out that you're going to retire, I'd never question his effort, but
Hey, he wants to spend time with his family
well,
after
I
this.
know, but do you?
He wants to make sure he can provide for them. He wants, he's got kids.
No, play football for us till you fall over. No.
Yep. Hurt every part of your
Well,
body every year
I guess
for the rest
I
of
guess
your
my
life.
thought process is, well, what's the point of keeping him then? Like, if you know he's going to be done, just
I think it's because he's still efficient enough, and I don't know if he'll continue the streak this year, but, I mean, being the leading tackler on the team for however many years in a row, I think he could still do it. I think he's still efficient enough to play at a really decent level.
Now, I know Chad Greenway is always near the top of the league in tackles, and he's always near the top of the league in missed tackles. But when you combine both those stats, you got a player that has a nose for the ball. He's going to be where the ball is. Whether he's
Yes.
tackling or missing or slowing someone down, he's got a nose for the ball.
You know what I'd love to see, too, and I know this is super corny, but if any of you guys are nerds with the Vikes like we all three are, but I'm on Vikings.com every single day I'm at work, and I can sit down. Ben Lieber, our old linebacker, he works for the Vikings. I can see Chad coming back and doing analysis for us, or calling games, or doing reports for us. He's just that kind of guy for us. And I know if he wants to retire here, it has nothing to do with the game or anything like that. But I that would be kind of cool because he's been a workhorse for us continually. But yeah, I'm back with you. I'm kind of torn between both of you guys on that, especially for you, Kyle. Like, I get what you're saying, because if you're already committed that you're gonna call it quits, your effort's gonna be questioned there. Especially what if he has a terrible last year?
I'm not questioning his effort at all.
I wouldn't
I don't
question.
think he would.
I wouldn't question his effort so much as I would say that you are seeing a bit of a decline in his play on the field, because at least I am noticing a lot more missed tackles on his part. I think if Chad wants to come back, he's the perfect veteran guy that you keep around in a reduced backup role for the team.
Right, I could see him staying on and helping out some of the other guys like Gerald Hodges and Anthony Barr, and he would be great in that role, and that's why I'd love to see him stick around for
If
another
he
year.
wants to do that, I would love to do that. Do we need to have Chad Greenway as the penciled-in starter who's going to get all the snaps a game? No, I don't think so.
No, I could see him being another Jasper Brinkley. Like he knows the system we have. He's efficient. He could come in and like I said, he could be productive at a maybe a little smaller of a role. But like I was saying earlier for your point, Kyle, what if he comes in and we already know that this is going to be his last year and he has a crap year?
Mm-hmm.
Then the question is going to be, well, we could have took a linebacker or we could have traded him or blah blah blah.
Well, judging by
that's
people on Twitter, Chad Greenway's been having crap years for the past 3 years.
Yeah, I don't agree
read
with
a book.
And his
read a
Pro
book,
Football
people.
Focus grades.
I don't agree with necessarily the past 3 years, but I do think you are seeing a bit of a decline from Chad.
Well, age and injury will do that.
Yeah.
It will.
I mean, the guy's I would never go as far to say he's a Brett Favre Iron Man, but the guy played with a broke wrist most of the year last year. Like, cut him a break, all
Hey,
right?
and I am a huge Chad Greenway fan. He was a former Iowa Hawkeye. I watched him all throughout college. I was ecstatic when he came to the Vikings. I have his jersey. I am a big Chad Greenway guy.
I got myself a Greenway jersey, too. And I want to see him retire a Viking. I'd love it to happen after one more year. I would.
He is very deserving to retire as a Viking if the circumstances are correct.
There were other guys that stepped up in that game, too. Harrison Smith had 6 total tackles. So did Andrew Sendejo. There were a lot of guys that just really played well in other roles.
Mm-hmm.
Anton Exum stepped in and actually played okay at times when Andrew Sendejo had to leave the game for a little bit. Andrew Sendejo, of course, filled in for the injured Robert Blanton and had to leave the game injured. So, the Vikings, such an injury-prone mess. I'm not gonna say injury-prone, but such an injury-riddled mess. I'll say it's been such a mess. Now next week, the Vikings will take on the Miami Dolphins. Got a young
Don't
group
sleep on
there.
the Dolphins.
Jarvis Landry, the wide receiver, you're gonna want to watch out for him. He is a young stud in the making.
Miami.
They have
Don't
a
sleep on
solid
Miami.
defense. Brent Grimes tied for second in the NFL in interceptions. I had a lot more cooler stats written down to talk about right now, but like I said, my notes, they're gone. Those are just the ones I got off the top of my head.
I would love, and I think people would agree here, the Miami Dolphins are the Minnesota Vikings of the AFC East. You don't sleep on them. And I will argue that till the day I die. Right now, New England is absolutely the front runner, and you could toss that up to see if they would be Detroit or Green Bay for us. The Buffalo Bills, best defense in the NFL. Awesome. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're better than Miami. We don't have to talk about the Jets because they're terrible, but I would say that they are the Minnesota Vikings of the AFC East. Don't sleep on them. Ryan Tannehill can win games. They have an outstanding wide receiver tandem, Mike Wallace and Jarvis Landry. Holy crap. And their defense is legit. But I think we could catch them while they're down because I was during the Jets game last week, the TV right beside of our game was the Miami and Baltimore game. Baltimore went into Miami and beat them up. It was a low-scoring defensive game. I mean, it's very, very possible, especially with the way our defense is playing. We could give Ryan Tannehill some problems. And I don't know. I would love to see us break even on the year. I think that would surprise a lot of people. I think we can do it.
Could be really interesting, that's for sure. I know I'll be watching. It's noon Central Time on Sunday, probably on CBS. I'm guessing since it's in Miami, I believe. Should be a fantastic game to watch. I don't have anything else for this week. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
Special shout out, not something we do too often here at the show, but special shout out. I think it's cool. The George Johnson, he's playing for Detroit now. He spent 2 seasons with the Vikings. Moved from defensive tackle to defensive end, and the guy's got 6 sacks on the season and is playing incredibly well for Detroit. So, good job, George Johnson. I'm glad to see that he finally found, a role that suits him in the NFL, because he was a super class act for the Vikings when he was with us.
Absolutely. Do you remember how I used to talk to him all the time on Twitter, and I kept trying to get him for an interview, and he kept redirecting me to
I know.
the Vikings PR?
We can never get through Vikings PR.
We can never get past Vikings PR. I mean, and George Johnson's such a nice guy. He's like, yeah, I'd love to. Just run it by them. It's like, oh, man.
Yeah. So we tried.
But yeah.
We tried to bring you guys George Johnson.
But no good. And I guess we got an eye for talent because he's pretty darn
Yeah.
good.
I wish we could have moved him to defensive end. Why didn't we think
Right.
of that?
Mike Zimmer would have did it.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Zimmer probably would have.
Well, on that note, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Go to Facebook, check us out at Purple People Podcast. Check us out on Twitter at Purple People Pod. And remember to stay classy, Minnesota.